I am resident of Colin for YouTube Jewel Sayings. That is Tom Diamond. That is Vickie Ray. We are here to review Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, the boogeyman himself, fresh from the burns of the Haddonfield Hospital. My God, he's back. No, and I'm not meaning Alice Cooper. I'm meaning Michael Myers. But but here's the thing: no Jamie Lee Curtis. They replace her with Danielle Harris, a young actress, child actress. Fun little weird fact here is Danielle Harris was actually stalked by somebody too, which was weird. Um, Craziness. So
Well, they had to do something because everybody was still pissed about Halloween 3, so they had to make a go of it. But Carpenter kind of seemed like he kind of threw this he hoed this one. It wasn't his heart was not in it.
They made a little money out of it. They had a $4 million budget, and I think they wound up with $16 million or something.
Well, you got Jamie Lee Curtis written out.
Well,
died in a car accident.
She didn't want to do it. She didn't want to do it because she had already.
But yet, John Carpenter bailing on the series. He went to an anthology series.
He wanted that.
Continuing the Michael Myers story, yeah.
Yeah, he wanted that, and it didn't work.
No.
That's what he really wanted to do with Halloween 3.
Yeah.
But Jamie Lee Curtis had been gone on to a fish called Wanda, which was a great.
I love that movie. It's like one of my favorite movies. I love A Fish Called Wanda. I just do. It's such a great movie. It really is. Everybody needs to watch it if you want to laugh.
Absolutely.
So what did you guys think of the opening here? Very different countries, setting. They don't shoot it with somebody walking. They shoot the outskirts of Haddonfield because they're filming in Salt Lake City in Utah, which all three films.
I was going to say.
But like the predecessor, they had to bring in the Halloween trim-ins to make it look like. And you have to ask yourself, though, why do they have to bring Michael Myers, transfer him any day but October 31st? Can't they do November 1st, November 2nd? No, it has to be Halloween night.
It's in the contract.
Everybody takes it for granted because they think he's in some kind of ratchet coma.
It's where they made their money from. The first movie made all that.
Well, the second one was obscenely good, too. I love the second one, too.
It was a real sleeper, that first movie. And it
there was no blood.
And then when the third movie bombed at the box office, and like I said, I didn't think the third movie was that bad. I
liked it, but the backlash back then was obscene. And, but now it's just got its own little cult following.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Do they have conventions? Do they have conventions? I'm not sure.
Well, when they have a convention, usually when you go to like a con or something,
and there's a lot of different.
It depends on who's there. There's just a lot of people there from different, from different genres, from different movies and stuff.
Right.
So, and sometimes you'll see Tom Atkins at one of these things. You'll see John Carpenter at one of them. I mean,
yeah.
So there's a bunch of people there. You'll see a bunch of the Jasons there. Like the one I went to, the Jasons from 1 through 8 were there. Like all the Jasons were there, and it was like funny. I was like, "Holy shit!"
Kane Hodder there?
Yeah, Kane Hodder.
Did you get to meet him?
No, I did not. I only stayed for a day. I was only but I did see him.
Bucket list.
I did see him. I met two of the Jasons, one of the and that was it. One of the Michaels, and that was it. So it was packed there. When you go to one of those things, it is.
Yeah.
It's a long wait.
And you can bring your wallet. And
yes.
Credit card.
And your credit card.
Yes.
Because if you don't have your credit card, your wallet's not going to do anything good.
You're just going to spend money. And don't even be guilty about it because you're going to spend money.
Do not bring a check. Do not bring a check.
Oh, they won't
cash.
No, they're not going to take it. They want credit cards, actually. Will they still take cash?
But getting back to your question, they had to come out with a more conservative fan base storytelling on this one, and the studio had to stick to more classic horror structure with slashers and whatnot because it just wasn't gonna fly if they didn't.
Yeah.
Well, the one thing I like,
but it was Laurie Strode's daughter. That was just like, man, I don't know. I don't know, but I wish they would have done something just a little different, with it.
Jamie Lloyd.
I didn't like the ending, to be honest.
But it was a nice little nod to Jamie Lee Curtis,
I mean, I didn't like the ending where she looked like a little Chucky, a little.
Well, they were setting it up for Michael Myers, the Revenge of Michael Myers.
The Revenge of Michael Myers. That's what it was.
There's more, but wait, there's more.
Yeah. Could you imagine if Halloween 5 would have had Jamie Lloyd as the killer? That would be crazy.
Well, they were thinking about it, but that didn't evolve quite the way they wanted to. But they were toying with that idea. That's why they ended it that way. Because of the other one, she's not really all, Michael Myered up. She's just kind of a little girl again. Oh, well, we'll just forget that she killed the stepmother or the whatever,
Well, that's the thing. Like this, 4, 5, and 6 are considered the Thorn trilogy.
Yeah.
And the only really, though you don't get necessarily the Thorn in this movie, the only sort of hint you get maybe that a character is like that is Dr. Hoffman, the male doctor who's just like this biggest asshole ever, and it's like, what's wrong with this dude? But
they just. Well, it's just. He's been in a coma, and it's just like, well, how convenient. He's been in a coma, laying there for 10 years, And then what was the deal with the mask? I mean, I think I caught a couple of.
It wasn't the original.
The hair. They had one with
yellow hair.
There's just a little switcheroo going on.
It wasn't the original. They couldn't get it.
I saw continuity. I'm really anal about continuity sometimes.
Yeah.
And you really can't be with horror movies and tropey campy stuff. But, I'm just an anal retentive sometimes. But I notice everything.
You're right. Mask,
that's good.
The mask in these movies you do see at first because there's a dream sequence at the beginning of this movie with Jamie Lloyd, Danielle Harris's character. And then because she sees the ambulance that Mike was in outside her house, it's like, this is a dream sequence. And then later on in the school where Dr. Loomis is going to get tossed through a window, you see the blonde-haired mask.
Yeah.
Sort of similar to what you saw in Halloween 2 a bit.
Yeah.
And funny, when you go on if you go in Halloween groups, they make fun of this, and it's funny. They say, it's Ben Tramer's revenge.
Yes.
Which is just hilarious.
But I missed. Well, George Wilbur took Warlock's place.
Yes, he did.
As the Shape.
Yeah.
So, those were some big shoes to fill. But they had like 2 different guys going on the set. It was. I don't know. I can't really say shit show because they pulled the product together, but it seemed not as tight as Carpenter probably would have had it.
No, it wasn't as tight. I will say that there's an interview with Dwight Little done by Justin Beam on Halloween 4, and he said, they shot a lot of the night scenes first too here with this, similar to the original. But I forget what kind of problem he said they had. It wasn't big, but he said something about the lighting. They had a little trouble. I think it was with the lighting, if I'm not mistaken. But then they got it corrected. So this movie is, they don't have a lot of stalking in it because that's the thing with Michael with the first 2 movies. There was stalking.
Right.
You get more stalking in Halloween 5.
Yes.
What you do get is confusion because you have people dressing up as Michael Myers. And that was one of the
you had the 2 guys. They are so lucky they didn't get shot. Why would anybody be that stupid?
Yeah, that's one of the most tense moments in the movie.
It really was actually because, okay, there's 2 of them.
Yeah, it's like, wait, is there more than one? It's like, no, it's just people messing around. They added different kind of, for the sequels especially, they were doing different kind of Halloween pranks than what you saw maybe in the first movie. Instead of dressing up as a ghost, where Michael came in dressed up as a ghost. You had people dressing up literally as Michael Myers. You get the same trick in Halloween 5, but in a different way, and a much more sinister way too. That cost characters their lives, which I thought 5 executed it better. But this is a lot more creepier. Like creepy. 4 is creepier. 5 has the better execution of this.
It does. It really does.
Because
but then again, you had teenage characters. These guys were all 20. Yep. You know, so I mean, I'm just trying to. I just, you know what I mean.
Although I did like the scene. The one scene that I did like was the electrocution of that guy. By the whatchamacallit, the power grid. The power grid. And that must have lasted almost a minute, but it was pyrotechnics. It was the guys going all over the place. That was probably the best shocker, as far as I'm concerned, of the movie.
Well, it took 11 days to finish the screenplay. I mean, that was quick. I mean, turn around. So.
If you go back and you watch that throw of the guy, Michael Myers threw that guy better than Dak Prescott throws the football. But it's okay. But no, it's a good clean kill, and I like it because I like the don't pull that Halloween bullshit with me. And it's like, really, dude? Like the electrician had some balls. It's like, okay. You know, but it's like I can't believe like you have that kind of nerve. It's like, doesn't this dude know who Michael Myers is? It's like, I guess not. But yeah, Danielle Harris does a really good job. I do like Ellie. I love Ellie Cornell in this movie.
Yeah. Do you know she hurt herself really bad on set?
Yeah.
I mean, she lost a lot of blood. I think she hit a nail with her foot or something.
She had to go to the hospital. I think they had to take
something like that. Yeah, she lost quite a bit of blood, but you wouldn't know it. She just, after they hooked her up.
Because she did the scene. She was a real trooper, and she did the scene while she was bleeding to death almost, which is
who was it? Wilbur. When he was doing his scenes, he had to keep telling the actress, the little girl, I'm not going to hurt you. He'd take off his mask, lots of times repetitively, because she was so young. And what a scary character. He's coming after her with knives and stuff. What she's all of what,
Well, it's probably, like I said, Danielle Harris had a stalker.
Yeah, she did. That's right. She did.
Yeah. When she was a little girl, about this time too. That's what was weird about it. Like, so they kept reassuring her, "Hey, no one's going to hurt you here."
Yeah.
But to ask a young, actress to carry this franchise, where you had Jamie Lee Curtis, Donald Pleasance returns here, but it's not like he's in the movie a ton either. That's sort of the thing with 4, 5, and 6. Yeah, Pleasance is there, but he's not in those movies a ton.
No, not really. Well, they had superimposed him and CGI'd him into a couple other films, but the one that was they left out, at least for this particular version, they left out the police scene. Where he goes in and kills everybody in the police department. For whatever reason, that scene never got kept.
In 5, you mean? Yeah. Well, if you buy the Halloween 5.
No, in 4.
In 4? Oh, that's right. That's right. He does kill the police in 4 tier 2.
But they never included that scene. They just are all wiped out, but you don't know what happened.
I wonder if it's because it was Friday the 13th part, I think, where 7, I think, where they had to edit the blood out. I wonder if that's the same thing here. It was too bloody.
It might have been. Because I've seen, well, it's not like, remember the Terminator goes and shoots up the police station. Kind of thing.
Yeah, you're right. The one cop gets his one arm cut off, and they do show the arm cut off.
Yeah, they don't really, there's no, what's going on? Well, you assume, it's going to be him.
Michael came in here and killed all the cops. They were too busy eating donuts to defend themselves.
I know, just like, seriously, don't they have like grenade launchers or something? Don't they have riot guns? Anything, elephant guns, something,
Maybe they
had. I guess not much goes on in Haddonfield.
Maybe they had stormtrooper aim.
Stormtrooper aim?
Yeah, they couldn't shoot that day. Like, oh, we can't hit them. Unlike the hillbillies in this movie who do hit a target, but
not but they kill their friend.
Yes.
That shit happens all the time, I bet, too. That's probably not even too far of a stretch.
That's my favorite scene in this movie.
The hillbillies?
Yeah.
I love the rednecks. Yeah, they're funny.
They're driving down there. There he is. And they tap and they pull the gun. Bang, bang, bang. I'm like, nah, they didn't get my... Oh shit! You shot Ted Hollister, and I start laughing every time I see that scene.
I forgot about that. I hadn't seen this in a long time. I haven't watched. I did rewatch like H2O a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. It was that they seem to you keep using the same. They keep using the same script though a little bit. I mean, this was almost kind of a revamping of the first one, almost kind of, sort of.
They ramp up the action in 4.
Yeah.
For them, like a bit in 2, but 4 has a lot of action more so than in 4. The tense moments are with Rachel in the house and in the truck. By the way, yes, Rachel Crothers got to drive the actress who played her got to drive that truck. When they were shooting it on set, she got to maneuver the truck, which is cool to hear.
That was a good scene, though.
Yeah,
I enjoyed that.
Yeah, die, you son of a bitch.
He just keeps coming back. Well, now we know he's supernatural.
Yes.
And it's just like, what is his body just? I mean, what does he just like morph? Does he just like reconstitute? I mean, what's he do?
I wonder how much better it would have been if Jamie Lee Curtis had been in 4 instead of them. It
would have to be a totally different movie.
Exactly, and I think it would have been a much better movie because I think there was a certain chemistry between Donald Pleasance and Jamie Lee Curtis.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I think that translates. Yeah, that translates on screen.
He's a professional at anything back in the day.
They both had their own particular acting style. his experience for over a number of years, and she's just starting out. And the two of them, it just works. The chemistry just works. Without Jamie Lee Curtis, half the phone was gone, and not even bringing back Michael Myers. People probably saw it because they were curious about, what happened to Michael Myers, because they didn't appreciate 3. But then you had to have, it was like almost like a triumvirate. You have to have the 3 of them there. You have to have Pleasance, Michael Myers, and Jamie Lee Curtis for that to work. And I assume that's what they did in later movies.
Well, it's like they had Tom Morga played Michael Myers in all the scenes where he's bandaged.
Is that Moran? Is that Joni? Is that what's her Erin Moran's brother?
I think it is.
Tom Moran? Because I know he was in the first one.
Yeah, he's in the first one.
I know he was in the first one. I don't know he was in the second.
But I know that they had him dressed up. I mean, I didn't. I was. Then they put hockey pants or whatever on and make him look more formidable when he actually got, after he killed the attendant, the mechanic. Yeah. But it's just I sometimes wonder the method to their madness. What they're thinking to arrive at whatever they're trying to arrive at this, because he did like Carpenter bailed.
So. Well, at least there was some planning here. There didn't seem to be the hodgepodge that you saw in. I just felt that like 2 was literally just put together with spit and glue. 3, of course, was a totally different movie altogether.
Right.
And Carpenter still wanted to do an anthology based on that, but he realized that wasn't going to work because the names had already been established. But you kind of wonder. I think it would have been a much better movie if Jamie Curtis was in it.
Well, yeah, everybody
she's in
wants to see
5,
her.
isn't she? Is she in 5?
Nope, she doesn't return till Halloween H2O.
Yeah, she doesn't
Oh,
come back till
really?
20 years later.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Which, the one thing I love most about H2O, because it's the closest we get to it starts off like a detective story. And I do hope one day we get Halloween like a detective story. I don't know if we ever will, but
No, because the sheriff, they portray the cops as dumb gumshoes. They don't portray them as anybody of the Sherlock Holmes caliber, or or the experts, that kind of thing. They're just there to do their jobs, and their job just got a whole lot more difficult.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I do like Bo Bridges here as the Sheriff Ben Meeker.
Yeah.
He's a hoot. I like him in this movie.
I was glad to see him too.
Yeah, his daughter's like banging the one guy, and she's like, "My dad will skin you alive for starters." I'm like,
"Oh, I forgot about that." She's walking around in her t-shirt, all that other stuff. It's like, put them clothes on.
Oh my gosh! What did you guys think of Salt Lake City as a Haddonfield here?
Weird, actually.
I wonder why they chose Salt Lake City.
Probably because they got, they were able to get the property. They were able to get the property.
Well, they still had to
less money.
Halloween. They had to bring in, all of the decorations. They had to bring in plants. They had to bring in pumpkins. Like they did in the first one, because
they probably didn't have to pay as much.
Maybe,
that's my guess.
Maybe, but usually Usually people go to at that time was going to Canada, Vancouver, places like that, because filming
even back then.
Yeah,
because this was 1988, right?
Yeah,
when they did that film.
Well, they're gonna film in Salt Lake City 2 more times with Halloween 5 and Halloween 6.
Yeah, true.
Well, they obviously got a good deal there.
Because I interviewed Daniel Ferens, who wrote Halloween 6, and he was talking about he was talking about Mitch Ryan because he was talking to Mitch Ryan when they were on set and stuff, and how happy Mitch Ryan was to be there. Because initially he wanted Christopher Lee for Dr. Terrence Wynn.
Yeah.
Really?
He regrets turning that down too.
That would have been very interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know they were going to. Melissa Joan Hart was up for this role. I'm wondering how different it would have been had Melissa Joan Hart been Jamie.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what she would have brought to it.
I don't know, because she was more into the kiddies. What is that? Tabitha?
They were all little kids back then. Yeah.
Was that Tabitha? Melissa Joan Hart?
She was. Yeah. No. She did play Tabitha. Yeah, she did.
Tabitha, the Teenage Witch, or something like that, or whatever.
Yeah.
Sabrina, the Teenage Witch, and she also was Clarissa Explains It All, as well. It's interesting too, because this movie doesn't. It starts off in the field, but then it also feels like a Nightmare on Elm Street movie with the dream sequence. It's like the first real dream sequence we get in second. We get 1 and 2, but we get a much longer 1 and 4 to open this movie. And it's like, what? I would love to ask the White Widow, okay, why this dream sequence? Like, why this here? Like, because it's really interesting, because they say Jamie Lee Curtis's character died 11 months ago in a car accident. Right. And it's like, well, did she really? Because how seriously can you take a dream sequence?
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's the one thing I've always found confusing most about 4 as a fan. It's like, I don't mind it at all if you use it, but it's the context in which you're using it, because you're also explaining to me, oh, hey, this character died 11 months ago. I'd rather you do that in a non-dream sequence than in a dream sequence.
Right.
But
maybe they wanted the dream sequence. I'm just speculating here in terms of the subconscious and how it affects the dreamer and so forth, rather than just doing it factually the way they did in Night of the Living Dead, They could have handled they could have handled it that way, but it wouldn't have been the same thing. Night of the Living Dead was good for its own because it treated the horror thing like it was actually happening. But the Halloween series, from what I see, is different in that everything is shrouded somewhere. Shrouded in mystery, shrouded in what's going to happen next, and so forth. And I think a dream sequence probably there is probably better than if it had been handled as a factual thing.
You can do anything with a dream sequence, though. You can eradicate a whole movie with a dream sequence and say that was just a dream. What was it like? What was it? Knots Landing when Pam wakes up from whatever and
Dallas.
It was Dallas. Yeah, he wasn't, and Patrick Duffy wasn't dead at all after all that. Went through all that to find out that something.
Well, what about the Bob Newhart? What about Newhart, where Bob Newhart, the last show, wakes up and he's back?
But I think that they're thinking things when they're doing dream sequences that they can do something maybe later. You never know. Option, open back door.
Sound like the great old dream curse of Dark Shadows.
I know. That's what I was thinking. That was torturous.
The dream curse is classic.
The dream sequence.
You're not gonna. Although I'm a Dark Shadows nut, but you're not going to get anything better than the Dream Curse, as far as I'm concerned.
But it was the skeleton in the Dream Curse. They needed to take this. They needed to hide the crack of the skeleton's head right here, where the screws go. It's like at least try to make it look legit.
Somebody needs.
Well, there was a lot of things in that Dream Curse, like the garbage cans with the dry ice. And you could actually see, I think, on one of the garbage cans, you saw the Department of Sanitation sign on one of the cans was red and white.
Dan Curtis didn't give a shit.
I used to love that.
Didn't give shit.
I used to love that. They just didn't. But you saw the dry ice was coming out of the garbage cans. It's not like it was just there, and it didn't give. They just did what they had to do.
Sort of like the wrestlers moving around too early that one time. When they had
it was so bad. It was good.
The cemetery. Jim Storm's like, what the fuck?
Oh, you're talking about what's Daniel Keys? My favorite, Daniel Keys. Evil lurks here. Evil. Oh yeah, that was.
I have to watch a couple episodes of that. I haven't done Dark Shadows in a while. I might have to refresh my memory again.
Oh sure.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't watched it since the time we.
4 years of it. 4 years of it. Blocks of Dark Shadow. I mean,
we actually
we got into it.
I think we did 4.5 years of it. Actually, it was
almost.
The
last. We did it.
Yeah, it was the 1841 parallel.
We did the movies. We did it all.
That we didn't get to do, but
we never did finish our last final. I got the script for it somewhere.
God
dang it, Keith.
Yeah. Well, may rest in peace. But still in all. This movie, Halloween 4, I think if you put them, so let me put the question out. If you put Halloween 1, 2, 3, and 4, which do you think was the best one?
Out of all of the first,
between
always going to be the first one.
The first 4.
The first one is classic because again, it was an independent movie.
It established that
it had very little. It had a very low budget.
It had like one of the lowest budgets of any film came out of there.
Yeah,
$100,000 or something.
And somebody, one of the producers, Ernie Blands, he changed the title because John Carpenter's original vision for Halloween. It was supposed to be more around town, not just like these isolated spots. Well, they didn't have the money to do that because the initial title was The Babysitter Murders. Where Ernie Bland said, well, we don't have the money.
That's right.
Have the money to do all this town stuff. So let's just change it to Halloween. It's already set on Halloween. Why not? And they went with that, and you got the movie you get today. It's such an important movie. If you ask me what movie should come next after that, Halloween 3. Halloween 3 is so good.
I liked it.
From an acting standpoint,
yes,
it's criminally underrated. I would put
yes,
two
it
after
was, but everybody was just so angry that they felt like they got gypped to Michael Myers. They didn't market it properly, and there was very little marketing at all, and that's why it got to that extent with the fandom. So.
It's a shame too, because as you point out, Jewel, the acting in Halloween 3.
Well, we all love it now. We were just pissed then. We're good now.
Yeah, it's good now, but that's just basically because it's part of all the movies that were made. But in and of itself, it really wasn't given. I don't feel it was given the recognition that
people just had a backlash and just a general. I don't think people were into anthologies back then.
See, they
were, but that was more Hammer. Yeah. The anthologies like Tales
people
from
wanted
the Crypt
reputation in the 80s
and Vault of Horror, and this was the 80s already. I think they might have passed.
Amicus was still making films in the 80s, were they?
I don't think they were.
Were they done? Because I know Hammer, then it was Amicus. I'm trying not to look that up because that will bother me. That will be a 3 a.m. thought. Did I ever look that up?
See, House of Drip Blood. Those are all the late 60s.
Amicus wasn't as pretty as Hammer, though. For some reason, Hammer films were just a little prettier. So
Hammer was a lot sexier and a lot chestier. Yeah. And
there's definitely a lot of boobage in those.
That's right.
Lots of memories.
And they were rated XXX, and Vampire Lovers was rated XXX.
I know. It's like I was laughing, just like God. What I mean, well, just look at Free Code Hollywood. You've got what's her name? She was oh God, what was her name? But she played in Drums Along the Mohawk. Oh God, Claudette Colbert.
Okay.
She's taking a milk bath and she is naked. I can't
remember the other day. Yeah.
I think it's Bird of Paradise.
Is it Cleopatra? Maybe.
And they've got they're milking donkeys, okay?
Ick.
No wonder Hayes went totally nuts.
I thought that was Cleopatra.
Claudette Colbert. I mean, wow. I love Pre-Code Hollywood. It's just such bullshit.
Pre-Code Hollywood was a lot of fun.
We should do some Pre-Code. It's a lot of fun. It is.
Yeah, before the Hayes thing took over. But so we're agreed that Halloween 3 is probably the best in terms of acting. How does Halloween 4 fit in?
It's one of my lowest rated Halloween movies.
It is for me too. At least for Halloween 3, you had Atkins in there. We had our big dose of toxic masculinity, because that's what made it sell. But later on, because everybody who doesn't love Tom Atkins, but. Yeah. But it wasn't my favorite either. It really wasn't. I hate to say that because if they work so hard to make a film, I try to appreciate it.
I know it wasn't my favorite.
I don't hate it. I won't outwardly hate any film, but I won't go after it like I would say. If it was
go out of your way.
1 or 3 and 4, I would pick its predecessors to watch.
Exactly. Like of the trilogy that I mentioned before, The Vampire Lovers, Lust for a Vampire, and Twins of Evil. I thought Twins of Evil was the least of the 3 because they were just going on Margaret.
They run out of steam. They just run out of steam sometimes.
Well, it was the Playboy, because the two were Playboy of the Month or something like that. They were kind of.
I'll do it.
And they were kind of going for that, but it didn't have the sensuality that that Ingrid Pitt's movie had, and she was that movie. Now that would have been interesting if Ingrid Pitt had been in a Halloween movie.
But I think I don't know if they knew they were going to. Jewel, did they know they were making the Revenge of Michael Myers at this point?
I think they figured it out. Not really, no, because though it was rushed, Halloween 5 was rushed because.
Well, so was this one. It was 11-day screenwrite.
Mustafa Akkad rushed Halloween 5, but I'll say this: for a rushed movie, I love 5 better than I do 4. 5 is very dark. It has the humor is a bit silly, but it's not so overbearing I can hate it because of all the dark. You have so many unpredictable murders in that movie, and the stalking in the movie is creepy. And my favorite scene in 5 is Michael driving the car after Jamie Lloyd. It's like, my God, that man is on a mission.
Yeah, that's true.
Like that movie's creepy for what it is, and you can tell it sets up a lot of the dark tones that come in 6, and 6 is an even better movie than 5.
Yeah,
but 4, there's good things in 4, like the inside the sheriff's house was a really good sequence, especially up in the attic and on the roof.
Right.
I love the school scene. I wish we'd have got more of the school stuff. Like we would have had more of a chase sequence inside the school. We never get that big chase sequence too much here. We more get it in Halloween 5 and 6. We get it with the car, and we get a chase sequence from the Myers house to where Tommy Doyle's living in some boarding house. But we don't get a chase sequence in this movie.
Did they ever have a Freddy versus Michael Myers?
No, but they had a Freddy versus
Jason.
But they never had a Freddy.
You need to see that movie, buddy. You need to see it.
Freddy
versus Jason. Yeah. Everybody's got to see it at least once.
Yes.
But can you imagine Freddy versus Michael Myers?
Yes.
That I think would have been really. You want to talk about the dream sequences that Freddy could put in?
Freddy versus Jason was pretty badass. A lot of people hated it, but I liked it. It's just like, come on. Lighten up.
That would have made money. Freddy versus Michael Myers.
Well, then you got him like Jason X, where, he's...
Did that movie make money, Freddy versus Jason?
Yes, it did. It made money.
Yeah, I'll bet it did.
It made money.
I'll bet it did.
They had Michael Buffer do the weigh-in and stuff. It was funny.
You've got hardcore fans. They don't care. Yeah. They just want to watch him. They just love it's just a love affair is really what it is.
And Jason X, Jason in Space, that movie's a fun watch.
It is.
It's just hilarious to watch. But Kane Hodder's final performance as Jason is Jason in Space. And it's hilarious.
Kane Hodder, he's good shit.
Yeah, he does. He really does. But yeah, they rushed Halloween 5. I don't think they knew exactly, because they may have knew they were going to do a Halloween 5, but they didn't know exactly what they were going to do. Because again, the ending of this movie is a cliffhanger. It's
right.
Did or did she not murder her mother? We don't know.
Yeah.
The knife is bloody and stuff. The scissors are bloody, and Pleasance is screaming, "No, no!"
Yeah.
And you think he's going to shoot her.
Well, he doesn't want to go through it again. It's like, no, not another one, Yeah.
It's a great the ending of this movie is great. But the problem is they do follow through with this in a way in Halloween 5, but because 4 leaves a very much desire. What would have happened if Jamie Lloyd had become the killer? And that's a question a lot of fans ponder, I think.
They did, though. They were going to go there, but it just never came to fruition.
Yeah. Somebody asked me once, what would you have done? I said, well, first of all, I wouldn't have had Jamie Lloyd in a clown mask up. I said she would have dressed like a Grim Reaper, and she would have painted her face white, because face paint was popular in the goddamn 80s.
That's right.
But would she have been? But here's the thing: she wouldn't have been the only killer. Michael would have still been alive, so you'd have 2 killers instead of 1.
Yeah, I was wondering, are they going to be like, bro and sis, if that was the case? Where were they going to go with that? Were they going to like tag team kill together?
I mean,
what were they going to do with that had that evolved into that script?
I do give credit for Danielle Harris in 5 because she didn't talk through half of the movie, and she sold it like a champ.
Yeah.
She sold it really well. What's your favorite scene in this?
Shit back then too. I mean, it's just like, oh man, this poor kid. Look how cute she is. She was so cute in her clown outfit. It's just like, oh my God. I mean, it made me grow my uterus 5 feet taller.
What's your favorite scene, Vickie?
Favorite scene in this one? Yeah. Well, it would have been if I could see all the cops get killed. I really like the bust them up stuff, that kind of stuff. It would probably be the very end where Donald Pleasance is losing his shit because we don't know, is she a killer? Is she not a killer? Are we going to go through this again with yet, another Michael mini-me, Yeah. But it would probably be that, just because I just like Donald Pleasance screaming, like Stella kind of thing.
Yeah. Tom, you got any other favorite scenes in this?
Well, as I said, the one favorite scene I had was the electrocution of the.
That was a good scene, though. That really was.
That guy. I mean, that was. I mean, he was like they just went to town on it, and he was bouncing. His body was bouncing back and forth like a ping pong ball between the electrical and the fireworks. The fireworks were great. I think that's got to be the best scene in the whole movie, as far as I'm concerned. Because, I mean, I don't mind saying that this wasn't my favorite. I mean, Halloween 3 so far, and I've just seen the 4 of them now. But Halloween 3 so far remains my favorite, and Halloween 4 is. But they used Michael Myers in order to draw people in. And what they really should have done, like I said before, was they should have gotten Jamie Lee Curtis. Would have been a much better movie.
She just didn't want no parts of it.
No, she didn't want to know. She was already
a lot of people bailed
into mainstream. She was already into mainstream. And she's done well with that, and she figured
she comes back, though. She always comes back.
I wonder why she came back, considering the way she felt at that time. Did she feel guilty?
I don't know. It was probably like coming home for her, because she was one of the original Scream Queens. I mean, she was in Terror Train and, and all that. I mean, what was the other one that she was big in? Oh, Prom Night. Yeah.
She was in Prom Night?
Yeah, she's in Prom Night. The original.
The first one.
The first one.
That's my favorite one too. I love Prom Night. I love that movie.
Yeah, we all have to specify because there's been so many remakes.
I can talk about monster movies for like every day, 24 hours. I mean, I just like talking about monster movies, so I'm just a nerd about it.
I told my daughter today about Godzilla. I said, listen, if you hit the like button, Godzilla will destroy Tokyo at 3 a.m. Not really. Oh my God!
And Perry Mason over there.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
God.
Which was fun.
That's a great ode to the original black and white Godzilla.
Oh yeah.
It's like awesome. I did like the new one that came out though. That was all Toho production again. That was so amazing. I loved it.
It was scary too.
Right down to why Godzilla, I mean, because they kind of detract from the atomic age and what happened. That I really liked how they showed what happened after Hiroshima. Because you never see it.
Yeah. So, guys, is there anything you want to add before we go?
Nope.
I'm good.
Sunday at 8, Time Tunnel, episode 1.
Right.
Link.
Rendezvous with Yesterday. Rendezvous with Yesterday is the title of episode 1. And that's the second one, not the first one on that list. Okay. Because they added that later.
Okay. Link to the Literary License podcast will be in the description box. Go check out these two if you haven't already. Go sub to their channel. They're on Facebook, Tom Hotz, Vickie Ray. You can hit them on Facebook. You folks have a safe night. Take care.
Y'all be good.
Take care, guys. Be well.
Guys.
Take care now.